So while we watch Bitcoin, before we move through the rest of the watch list, I'd like to just real quick read from Exceptional Trading: The Mind Game. This is Ruth Roosevelt's book, one of her books. This is going to go a little bit deeper into the conversation that we had last week on the live stream about emotions. So here in these 2 pages, she talks about the structure of emotions. This is chapter 4. The chapter is just titled Emotions. We know that emotions are a topic of conversation very often amongst traders. So I think it's good that we discuss this. What she's going to say here is that each emotion has 2 to 4 variables. Once you change one of the variables, you actually change the emotion and the response to that emotion. So we're going to talk about time frame first. Time frame being one of the variables that play into emotions. She says each emotion has a different structure, and understanding the structure allows us to change the emotion and allows us to access all of our emotions. I think that we would all love that. The possible structural components of an emotion include time frame, modality, involvement, criteria, tempo, comparison, and intensity. And like I said, right now we're just going to talk about time frame. So she says fear and anxiety are future-oriented emotions. You are not afraid in the present. It's the future that you're worried about. Pulling yourself back into the present, you can avoid the fear. It's really important to trade in the present because that's all you have and all you know. The future isn't just conjuncture. The future is just conjuncture and probabilities. The present is the only place of certainty. The past may or may not repeat. You don't want to trade yesterday's action today. That was then. This is now. If you stay in the present, you may experience a heightened alertness, but you won't experience fear. Granted, it's hard to stay in the present when you're trading because something's always about to happen and you're alert for it. But it will help the fear factor if you can do this. So right there, she just is saying how fear and anxiety are future-oriented emotions. So when we're feeling those emotions, we want to do something that brings us back to the present. Maybe meditate, maybe hop off the chart and go stretch or do yoga or go for a walk, something like that. Kind of ground yourself, right? Then she says regret and remorse are past-oriented emotions. These emotions refer to something that occurred in the past or that you did or didn't do. By moving your attention to the future and how to plan to make things different, you can eliminate the regret or the remorse. So if you're feeling these past-oriented emotions, she's saying it's important to shift into future thinking about the potential of the future. And then she goes on to say irritation and frustration are past or present-oriented emotions, and you can only feel these emotions in the present, irritation and frustration. By turning your attention to the past or the future, you can remove these feelings. So she's saying if you feel irritated or frustrated with something that's happening right now, that's a good time to look back at the past. If you're frustrated with the results from your trading today, maybe look back at how the trading system that you've been following has performed over the last 2 months. That could be a good motivator. In the same sense, you could maybe think ahead to your future. Think ahead, hey, if I'm demo trading now, in a month from now, if I can trade really well, then I'm going to start to live trade or I'm going to try to get funded or whatever it is. So I think there she's kind of explaining which emotions are aligned with which time frame. And if you're feeling a future-oriented emotion, you can think about the past to kind of counteract that emotion and control the response. It's an interesting perspective.